In this video, I will try to explain an essay related to English. This essay is written by Braj B. Kachru, and the title of the essay is The Alchemy of English. So, since the word alchemy is used here, you must have been thinking what it tries to refer. So the word alchemy, it means magic or chemistry. So the author might have tried to depict about the chemistry or the magic of English in our art. Means how English has become most popular language. What is the reasons behind it, and how English has overshadowed the rest language of the world. That all kinds of thing the writer has tried to expound through this essay. Since English is my not a native language, since my mother tongue is different, so my English pronunciation, it will be different too. That's why please ignore my pronunciation, and if it requires, then correct yourself. So let's begin our explanation. The Alchemy of English, written by Braj B. Kachru. Braj B. Kachru, he is an Indian American linguist, and he has done notable research works on English language on the basis of South East Asian nations. So, without any delay, now let's try to read the lines of this essay. The English language is a tool of power, domination, and elitist identity and of communication across continents. So, at the beginning of the essay, the writer is saying that English language is a tool of power, domination, and elitist identity. Elitist means those who use English language, they are considered or they're termed or they're tagged as superior in many uh, other contexts, especially in our India. So, if someone speaks English in our India, he is considered or he is recognized as more knowledgeable or a kind of genius by the common or lay people. So, it is English language is used as a tool to judge our intelligence and knowledge. Okay, but in reality, English is nothing but just a language. Okay, it is not a tool for the measurement of knowledge, information, or wisdom. Although the era of the white man's burden has practically ended in a political sense and the Raj has retreated to native source, the linguistic and cultural consequences of imperialism have changed the global scene. Here, the writer is saying that though the philosophy of English people, when English people had almost reign in the entire continent of this world where we are living. So at that time they had one thinking, that it is the white man's burden to civilize non-white people. So they think that, and they have deliberately used this thinking to impose English people's rule on non English people, culture, society, and nation. Consequently, they have created colony, various colonies in Africa, to you will get in India, to you will get in many other nations and continents, to justify that it is their problem, it is their burden to eradicate the ignorance of the people who do not speak English, or those who do not live the way English people do. Okay? And in that process, they have imposed English language in school curriculum, in administrative uh, places, etc. So that thing the writer is trying to say here, that though this white man's burden, this notion or this concept or this era, though it is finished now, but in political sense, this thinking is still going on. Okay. The linguistic and cultural consequences of imperialism have changed the global scene. Means, though colonial powers have gone, or though colonial authority have retreated to their own native lands, but they have left English language in every place they have gone, and that has been used by the native colonized people right now too. And as a matter of fact, I am too speaking English, and you are too studying English, and this is a consequence of those colonial authorities imposition of English. Okay. So though they have left, though English people have left from their colonies, but the power of English language that they have nurtured through their authority, through their colonial power, that has not been gone through this world. In every place of the world, you can see English language speaking, writing, and teaching. Okay, though in some cases, some exceptional cases, you will not get English language, but there too, the inquisitiveness or the enthusiasm to learn English is still there. Okay. The linguistic ecology of, for example, Africa and Asia is not the same. English has become an integral part of this new complex sociolinguistic setting. The colonial Englishes were essentially acquired and used as non-native second languages, and after more than 2 centuries, they continue to have the same status. So here, the writer is saying that if we try to compare English language dominance in India and Africa, then we will get to know that in Africa, though English must have not been able to influence the larger speaker, but in Indian context, they have been able to dominate it. And English has become an elite or an elite language for many Indian people or for many Indian societies in India, though Britishers have left long, long ago. The non-nativeness of such varieties is not only an attitudinally significant term, but it also has linguistic and sociolinguistic significance. So here the writer is remarking that the non-nativeness of such varieties is not only an attitudinally significant term, but it also has linguistic and sociolinguistic significance. Means, though colonizers have left English in their colonies like our India, here after the departure of colonial authorities, the English language, it has been shaped, it has been molded in a new way, and it has also influenced culturally, socially, and in multi-dimensional ways. Okay, and one of the most important factor of English language in our India is attitudinal English language speaking. Okay, in India, only Sanskrit, English, Hindi, and to some extent Persian have acquired pan Indian intranational functions. So, as we all know, in our nation, in our India, only Sanskrit, English, Hindi, and to some extent Persian language, these languages have been able to succeed in becoming a pan or becoming a pan Indian intranational functions. Means these languages are used by different states of our India or of our country. Okay, the domains of Sanskrit are restricted and the proficiency in it limited, except in the case of some professional pandits. So right now too, at the present moment too, you can see the dominance of Sanskrit, the influence of Sanskrit language is completely, totally limited to certain people, and those people are often called as pandits of that language. In everyday language or in academic or in administrative functions or in context, this language is not used. English language is preferred. Why? What is the reasons behind it that we will get to know through this essay. The cause of Hindi was not helped by the controversy between Hindi, Urdu, and Hindustani. Support for Hindustani almost ended with independence after the death of its ardent and influential supporter Gandhi. Very little was heard about it. So now you can see in most of Indian states, the imposition of Hindi language is highly debated and protested by its native people, like in uh, Meghalaya or Nagaland and in some South Indian states. They do not want to embrace Hindi, they prefer English. So, what is the reason behind this? That kinds of thing the poet, or sorry, the writer has tried to argue here. The domains of Sanskrit are restricted and the proficiency in it limited, except in the case of some professional Pandits. The cause of Hindi was not helped by the controversy between Hindi, Urdu, and Hindustani. Support for Hindustani almost ended with independence. So, these three languages, Hindi, Urdu, and Hindustani, these three languages, they have been competing to become a pan-Indian language or to become an exclusive language used by everyone in India. But if you try to observe acutely, then you will get to know that Hindustani language, it has been uh, stopped its popularity after the death of Mahatma Gandhi. So Hindustani language is the mixture of Hindi and Urdu. This language has become, or it is used as a tool to communicate between two nations, India and Pakistan. And now, since Urdu is used in Pakistan, Urdu language has also gone from this competition to become pan-Indian language, right? But you can see one thing here: English language is still winning in this competition without coming into this competition, right? The enthusiasm and near euphoria of the supporters of Hindi were not channeled in a constructive and realistic direction, especially after the 1940s. And Hindi language supporters, uh, if you try to observe them, they had demanded to use English as a national language, especially after the 1940s and not before that. The result is that English continues to be a language both of power and of prestige, and therefore, English has become a tool or a language both of power and prestige. Those who read in the English medium school before 1940s and after 1940s too, for them English has become uh, a medium of power and prestige. Why? Because if you study or if you read in English medium school, then you will get the job in or under British government in various offices of British authority. So in that way you get power, right? And prestige also. You will get money, and through that money you will have a status, right? For governments, English thus serves at least two purposes. First, it continues to provide a linguistic tool for the administrative cohesiveness of a country, as in South of Asia and parts of Africa. So here the writer is saying that for governments, English, it serves on two purposes. Number one purpose is it continues to provide a linguistic tool for administrative cohesiveness of a country in South Asia or in parts of Africa. So after the departure of British, the native people, they have embraced the administrative powers, okay, but though they have driven off English colonial authorities, but the systems of using English language as a tool to communicate in administrative works, those things cannot be obliterated by the non-native people. That's why English, it has been serving as an important tool in administrative field. Okay, and English language, it has also become a kind of cohesiveness cohesiveness medium or united medium to communicate. Otherwise, let's say after the departure of British in India, the imposition of English is done, then the administrative function, it will be halted, it will be stopped downrightly. So that's why it has its own administrative cohesiveness in country like South Asia and parts of Africa. Got it? Okay, now let's move on. And the second point is the point the writer is saying, at another level, it provides a language of wider communication, national and international. And apart from that, English language, it also provides a wider communication range. You can use English in the national context too and in the international context too. So since India is a land of multiple languages, here you will get thousands of languages and dialects. So if you use English as a medium to send your communication or to give your message, then they will comprehend it, they will understand it. But if you try to send it in Hindi or it in Urdu, then it will be difficult because most of the people, they do not understand Hindi and Urdu. But English, since it has been used by administrative officials since time immemorial, that's why they can understand it. Okay. The enthusiasm for English is not unanimous or even widespread. The disadvantages of using it are obvious. Cultural and social implications accompany the use of an external language, but the native languages are losing in this competition. So, let me give you an instance here, an example here. If you go to south, in south you will get many states like Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, Kerala, right? And in those states you will get English, right? And you will also get their own mother tongues like Tamil, Telugu, Malayalam, like that, Karnataka's Kannada, uh, languages, right? So if you come to West Bengal, you will get Bengali, and if you come to Northeast India, then you will get multiple languages: Assamese, then Naga, and Manipuri, Mizo, Tripuri, like that. So here you have seen the problems of using Hindi language. Okay. Here, the situation is now changing, but after the independence, just right after the independence, the the Hindi language was not so popular, and it is still not so popular in some parts of our country. That's why many native languages of our India, they lost the competition of becoming a national level or a pan-Indian language. That thing the writer is trying to say here. That's why an external language like English, its dominance you will be able to see. Still, it is dominant. Means in some cases or in some circumstances, the uses of English language, it is more advantageous. That's why English language has been using by administration authority uh, for a long time. Okay. Then English does have one clear advantage. So here now the writer Braj B. Kachru, he is saying that English does have one clear advantage, that is attitudinally and linguistically. It has acquired a neutrality in a linguistic context where native languages, dialects, and styles sometimes have acquired undesirable connotations. Okay, so the writer is emphasizing here on one thing, and that is neutrality. According to the writer, English language has that one quality in linguistic context, and that is neutrality, which can't be found in other native languages of our India. Okay, now let's try to know more. Whereas native codes are functionally marked in terms of caste, religion, region, and so forth, English has no such markers, at least in the non native context. So, here the writer is saying that in most of the cases, or in most parts of our India, they have their respective mother tongue, they have their respective language. So, since we all know that in India you will get countless tribes, and those countless tribes, they have their own dialects, they have their own languages. That's why it is completely impossible, okay, to communicate with them in one language except English. And why English? Because in some cases, English is a neutral language. Why? Because it has no caste, it has no religion, it has no reason, like that. Okay. So if you speak Hindi or if you speak Urdu, so people will get to know that since you are speaking Hindi, you must be related to Hindu religion, or if you are speaking Urdu, you must be from uh, Muslim religion, like that, and so on. But if you use English, then people will not be able to judge you, because it has no caste, it has no religion, it has no creed. So that's why English has become a popular communication tool in India. Okay. It was originally the foreign alien ruler's language, but that drawback is often overshadowed by what it can do for its users. So here the writer is saying that though English was originally the foreign or alien ruler's language, but that is now no more a thing to discuss. Why? Though Britishers ruled us, right? But after their departure, the English that they have spoken, that they have used, that has been used by us in our own way for our own benefit, for our own advantage. That's why English, it has overshadowed that thinking that it is a foreign ruler's language. True, English is associated with a small and elite group, but it is in their role that the neutrality of a language becomes vital. For example, for Tamil speakers in Tamil Nadu or Bengali speakers in West Bengal. In India, the most widely used languages is Hindi, 46%. Language is Hindi, 46%, and its different varieties. For example, Hindustani, Urdu have traditionally been associated with various factions. Hindi with the Hindus, Urdu with the Muslims, and Hindustani with the maneuvering political pundits who could not create a constituency for it. While these attitudinal allocations are not necessarily valid, this is how the varieties have been perceived and presented. English, on the other hand, is not associated with any religious or ethnic faction. So, through this line, you must have been able to understand that you must have been able to understood that English language is not associated to any religion, any ethnic group. That's why people can use it as a common language, according to the writer. And Uh, if you speak English, people will not be able to judge whether you are a Christian, whether you are a Muslim, whether you are a Hindu, whether you are a Buddhist, whether you are a any other religious group, and they will also not be able to understand or catch whether you are from this tribe or that tribe, that you are Punjabi, you are Assamese, you are Bodo, you are Tamil. They will not be able to uh, know. Okay. Whatever the limitations of English, it has been perceived as the language of power and opportunity, free of the limitations that the ambitions attribute to the native languages. So here, the writer is saying that, so whatever the limitations of English, it has been now perceived as the language of power and opportunity, free of the limitations that the ambitions attribute to the native languages. Very simple. I hope you have understood. Now, let's try to know more. Attitudinal neutrality and power. In several earlier studies, it has been shown, the writer is saying about his own work, that is Kachru 1978 and 1982a, that in code mixing, for example, English is being used to neutralize identities one is reluctant to express by the use of native languages or dialects. So here the writer is talking about a new thing, means not a new thing for us, but a kind of new concept, that is code mixing. So if you want to hide your background, that you come from this tribe or that tribe, or you come from Christianity, you come from Hinduism, you come from Buddhism, okay, so if you want to hide that, then too you can use English as a language. Okay, to communicate, they will not be able to catch it. So that thing the writer is saying here, English is being used to neutralize identities one is reluctant to express by the use of native languages or dialects. So if you don't want to reveal that you are an Assamese person, okay, so you are speaking English. And if you are from Nagaland and you are a Naga, and you don't want to speak in your own mother tongue, you want to hide it, or you are not comfortable, then you can use English, right? So it has become a neutralized language. And in that way, code mixing refers to the use of lexical items or phrases from one code in the stream of discourse of another. And while talking English language, or if I say in other way, that when we speak in our own mother tongue, let's say if I speak in Assamese language, then I may use many English use borrowed from English. Okay, so that kind of thing you will get in other uh, nation too. Okay, and neutralization thus is a linguistic strategy used to unload a linguistic item from its traditional, cultural, and emotional connotations by avoiding its use and choosing an item from another code. So, if you want to, let's say, neutralize your emotional connotations, then you can change, or then you can replace your own mother tongue's word with English language. Okay, that you can do, right? In our informal conversations, and in some context in our formal conversations, in our mother tongue, we often borrow English word to express our ideas, right? So that thing the writer is trying to mention here, emphasize here. The borrowed item has referential meaning but no cultural connotations in the context of the specific culture. This is not borrowing in the sense of filling a lexical gap. In Kashmiri, the native word mond, which means widow, invokes the traditional connotations associated with widowhood. So, let me give you an example here. Some word, if you use in your own mother tongue or in your own native language, then some words it becomes an offensive one. So you try to replace those words by English words. It happens in our conversation, in our communication, right? So that thing the writer is trying to argue here in these lines. So that is a kind of uh, code mixing or code switching. But it is not in the sense of filling a lexical gap. Okay, so the writer has given an example that is from Kashmiri language. In Kashmiri, the native word mond, it means widow, which invokes the traditional connotations associated with widowhood. And its use is restricted to abuses and curses not occurring in Polish conversation where, okay, so if you use mon, then if you are speaking Kashmiri language with your own native speakers in your own native land, then if you use widow, then it will be more respective, it will be more appreciative. Because in most of the cases, according to the writer, if you use mond in Kashmiri language with the Kashmiri speakers, then it may uh, refer refer to abuses and curses. Okay, so it is means not used in polished conversations. Clear? Just like that, you will get bhedbha. Hindi you will get bidwa, or in English widow is preferred by the Hindus. So there is another word in Hindi that is bhedbha, but bhedbha is not used by uh, Hindi speaking people, uh, but they prefer bidhwa. But if you want to uh, appear more polite, more humble, then you will use widow. Widow is used by all, and it is more respectable, more appreciable. Okay. Just like that, you will get many words in your own mother tongue, in your own native language, that you replace with English words. Clear? Okay, let's move on. Yes. In Tamil, as shown by Annamalai in 1978, Makan and Atimber reveal the caste identity of the speaker, not desirable in certain situations. So, if you use Makan and Atimber, it will reveal the caste identity of the speaker. Okay. Uh, and that's why it is not desirable in certain situations to use it in Tamil. Therefore, people will use or take English words to replace it. Okay. Therefore, one uses English brother-in-law instead. So that's why people prefer brother-in-law instead of Makan and Atimber. Because if you use Makan and Atimber, then it will reveal the caste identity of the speaker. Clear? English rice is neutral compared with Sadam or Soru, which means purist in Tamil. And just like that, you will get words like Saddam or Soru, okay, which is used for rice. But if you use these words Saddam and Soru, then it will be more offensive. That's why using English word rice is good or magnificent or neutral. A lexical item may be associated with a specific style in the native language, as are manaivi in a formal mode and penditi in a colloquial way in Tamil, but the English equivalent wife has no style restriction. So just like that, you will get many words in your own mother tongue. The writer has also given example from other languages like Tamil. If you use Manavi and Panditi in colloquial form in Tamil language, then these words have actually some uh, other connotations. So that's why uh, instead of using Penditi and Manavai, you can use wife in English language, right? If I speak about uh, Assam, then in in Assam, Assamese language is spoken in most parts of or in most of the districts of Assam. So there you will get uh, many words for wife, right? You can say potni, you can say ghoinek, you can say maiki. So these three words, it is used in a different context, right? So if you want to be sound more polite, more humble, or if you want to use it in a polished way, you will not be able to use ghoinek. You have to use potni or hoho dharmini. But in English, you will not get varieties of words for wife. There's only one word, that is wife, and it is a kind of normal language. Normal language. Oh, sorry, neutral language. Okay. Just like that, you will get many examples. Try to find it out. In such contexts, then the power of neutralization is associated with English in two ways. So here the writer is emphasizing here that the power of neutralization, it is associated with English in two ways. First is English provides with or without mixing on an additional code that has referential meaning but no cultural overtones or connotations. Second, such use of English develops new code mixed varieties of languages. So here the writer is saying that since English has the power of neutralization, okay, that's why English provides with or without mixing an additional code that has referential meaning but no cultural overtones or connotations. Means since English language is considered or can be called as neutral language, that's why with or without code mixing of words, you can use or you have to use in certain ways English language for your own benefit. Okay. And it has no cultural overtones and connotations also. That's why it is preferred by many people. Whether they will accept it or not, that is the fact. That thing the writer is trying to say. Second, such use of English develops new code mixed varieties of language, and in some cases, this kind of code mixing language, it also creates or it also generate a new kind of code mixed varieties of language, like uh, Hindi and English mixed language, often called Hinglish. You must have heard Hinglish. So that is born out of code switching or code mixing, according to the writer. Got it clear? I hope it is clear. Okay. So whatever I'm saying here, that is my own understanding. I may be wrong. Okay. If I'm wrong, you can challenge me. You can uh, rectify me. Let's go on. Lexicalization from English is particularly preferred in the context of kingship, taboo items, science and technology, or in discussing sex organs and death. What Moak terms the social neutrality of English in the case of Fiji is applicable in almost all the countries where English is used as a non-native language. In the Fijian context, Tongans and Fijians find English the only safe medium in which to address those of higher status. English not only hides their inability in the specialized vernacular registers but also allows them to meet traditional superiors on a more or less equal footing. So here the writer is talking about lexicalization from English. Okay, so lexicalization from English, it is particularly preferred in the context of kinship, taboo items, science and technology, or in discussing sex, organs, and death, according to the writer. And in some cases, especially if you talk about Fiji people, Fiji, you must have heard an island. So the term social neutrality of English, this can be applied in Fijian nation. There you will get English used by non-native language, used by non-native speakers. Okay, because if they use their own mother tongue, then in some cases it will be problematic, offensive, and it will not be appreciative. That's why using English language by them, it becomes more safe medium to address many things, including addressing those of higher status in their society. And English also, it means, according to him, English not only hides their inability in the specialized vernacular register, but it also allows them to meet traditional superiors on a more or less equal footing, like that. Okay, so let me give you an example here. In our Hindi language, you will get up, tum, and tu, right? So these three word you will get for you in English. In English, you will not get any other word. You is used for the superior, the junior. Okay, it is used for all. If you want to talk with a child, then do you can use you. If you want to talk with a senior citizen, then do you can use this thing. If you want to talk with a minister, officer, then the you can use you, right? That's why in some cases English, it is used to get rid of this kind of problems. Got it? I hope it is clear. And this can be seen in many other nations in their own society. Now, next point is contact literatures in English, creativity in the other tongue. The contact literatures in English have several characteristics, of which two may be mentioned here. In South Asia, to take one example, there are three more or less pan-South Asian literatures: Sanskrit, Persian, and Hindi. In terms of both style and content, Sanskrit has been associated with the native Hindu tradition, Persian in its Indian form, and Urdu have maintained the Perso-Arabic stylistic devices, metaphors, and symbolism. It is this aspect of Urdu that alienated it from the traditionalist Hindus who believe that in its formal experimentation, thematic range, and metaphor, it has maintained an un-Indian Islamic tradition and continues to seek inspiration from such non-native traditions. This attitude toward Urdu tells only part of the story and negates the contribution that the Hindus have made to the Urdu language and the way it was used as the language of national revival. Indian English literature cuts across these attitudes. It has united certain South Asian nationalist intellectuals and creative writers. It has provided a new perspective in India through an alien language. So here now, writer is talking about another aspect of using English language, why English language is used by many people. So if you use English as a medium for communication, then you will also get contact literatures in English language, which will ultimately produce creativity in other tongue. Okay, so the writer is saying that uh, the contact literature in English have several characteristics, of which two may be mentioned here. In South Asia, to take one example, there are three more or less pan-South Asian literatures. So you will get Sanskrit literature, Persian literature, and Hindi literature, and you will also get Urdu literature too, right? And if you write a poem in Urdu, then it will be related to Urdu literature and you will be regarded as a Muslim person. It is the same case with Hindi, Sanskrit, Persian. But if you write in English, no one will know. No one will know that from which caste you have come, or from which tribe, or from which land, from which part of the nation you have come. No one will know. That's why English, the uses of English language has also created contact literatures in English. Then in Indian English fiction, R.K. Narayan, Mulkras Anand, and Raja Rao, for example, his Kantapura, have brought another dimension to the understanding of the regional, social, and political context. In this process, linguistically speaking, the process of the Indianization of English has acquired an institutionalized status. So here the poet is making another important point. He is saying that in Indian English fiction, you will get writers like Mulkras Anand, R.K. Narayan, Raja Rao, and they have contributed immensely in the upliftment of Indian English. Through their literary works, they have used Indianized verb English. Means though they have used English, but they have used English in the way Indians use, not in the way British people used. Okay, and in that way, linguistically speaking, the writer is saying that the process of Indianization of English, it has acquired an institutionalized status. That's why English has become an Indian institutionalized English, according to the writer. Means it is true that Britishers ruled in our India. They had imposed English language, but after their departure, English language has found its own flavor. Okay, that thing the writer is trying to say means English is now no more an uh, no more a language of British people. Okay, in a sociological sense, then English has provided a linguistic tool and a sociopolitical dimension very different from those available through native linguistic tools and traditions. A non-native writer in English functions in two traditions. In psychological terms, such a multilingual role calls for adjustment. In attitudinal terms, it is controversial. In linguistic terms, it is challenging, for it means molding the language for new contexts. Such a writer is suspect as fostering new beliefs, new value systems, and even new linguistic loyalties and innovations. This then leads us to the other side of this controversy. For example, what have been the implications of such a change attitudinally and sociologically for the Indian languages and for African languages, and for those speakers whose linguistic uh, Repertories do not include English. Additionally, we need to ask what are its implications for creative writers whose media are major and minor Indian languages. Okay. So here the writer has reiterated the same thing, that English has provided a linguistic tool and a socio-political dimension very different from those available through our native linguistic tools and traditions. Means what English language can give. Okay, those things cannot be given by non-English languages. Okay, means what English can give that cannot be given by Hindi. Okay, it is as simple as that. Clear? Now let's go to talk about other things. Post-colonial period. Since independence, the controversy about English has taken new forms. Its alien power base is less an issue, so is its Englishness or Americanness in a cultural sense. The English language is not perceived as necessarily imparting only Western traditions. The medium is non-native, but the message is not. So here the writer is talking about the English, the status of English language after the departure of colonial powers. So here the writer is talking about post-colonial period, how English have been surviving that thing. So he's saying that the English language, it is not perceived as necessarily imparting only Western traditions. This medium is non-native, but the message is not. So here the writer is saying that though English is an alien language, though English is a language of colonial power of British, but now we cannot say that English, through English language we can only learn about English culture, English uh, socio-political history, or English things, right? That is not a fact now. Through English language we can also learn about our Indian culture, about our Indian geography, about our own Indian thing. That is the point the writer is trying to make here. He is saying that since you are using English, or since you are writing in English, it does not mean that you will not be able to convey your Indian emotion or your Indian thing. In several Asian and African countries, English now has national and international functions that are both distinct and complementary. English has thus acquired a new power base and a new elitism. The domains of English have been restructured. People ask, is English really a non-native alien language for India, for Africa, for Southeast Asia? In the case of India, one wonders, has India played the age-old trick on English too, of nativizing it and acculturating it? Acculturating means to mix your own flavor. In other words, Indianizing it. The Indian writer and philosopher Raja Rao associates power with English, which in his mind is equal, if not greater, than Sanskrit when he says. So here the writer is talking about Raja Rao, and he is saying that for him, English is as equal as Sanskrit or Hindi. And why he's saying like that, let's try to find out. Truth, say the great Indian says, is not the monopoly of the Sanskrit language. Truth can use any language, and the more universal, the better it is. If metaphysics is India's primary contribution to world civilization, as we believe it is, then must she use the most universal language for her to be universal? And as long as the English language is universal, it will always remain Indian. It would then be correct to say as long as we are Indian, there is not nationalist but truly Indians of the Indian psyche. We shall have the English language with us and amongst us, and not as a guest of our friend, but as one of our own caste, our creed, and our sect and our tradition. So you must have understood what the writer is trying to say here. The writer has given a quote from philosopher Raja Rao, and he has said that it is uh, it is not that if you only use Sanskrit language, then only you will be able to speak truth, then only you will be able to write truth. It is not the case. The writer is saying that truth can be said, truth can be written in any other language, and truth can be uh, used, or sorry, truth can be communicated in English language too, as it is communicated in Hindi or Sanskrit, Urdu, or Persian. Okay, and through English language, we can also convey our Indian culture, our Indian society, our Indian philosophy, our Indian thinking, perspectives. We don't need only Sanskrit or Hindi or Urdu to convey our message, our truth. Okay, and the writer is saying then these new power bases in Africa or in Asia have called into question the traditionally accepted externally normative standards for the institutionalized varieties. The new varieties have their own linguistic and cultural ecologies or sociological context. The adaptation to these new ecologies has given non-native Englishes new identities. One might say that contemporary English does not have just one defining context, but many across cultures and languages. This is also true of the growing new literatures in English. The concepts of British literature or American literature represent only part of the spectrum. The new traditions, really not so new, must be incorporated into the tradition of literatures in English. The Alchemy of English present and future then does not only provide social status, it also gives access to attitudinally and materially desirable domains of power and knowledge. It provides a powerful linguistic tool for manipulation and control. In addition, the alchemy of English has left a deep mark on the languages and literatures of the non-Western world. English has thus caused transmutation of languages, equipping them in the process for new societal, scientific, and technological demands. The process of Englishization has initiated stylistic and thematic innovations and has modernized registers. The power of English is so dominant that a new caste of English using speech fellowships has developed across cultures and languages. It may be relatively small, but it is powerful, and its values and perspective are not necessarily in harmony with the traditional values of these societies. In the past, the control and manipulation of international power have never been in the hands of users of one language group. Now we see a shift of power from the traditional caste structure in the process. A new caste has developed. In this sense, English has been instrumental in a vital social change, not only in that of language and literature. So, through this line, the writer has tried to delineate why English is significant, why it is popular, what is the reason behind it. So that all thing the writer has tried to convey, and that's it. The last line, if you read it, you will understand it. I don't have to explain it any further. So thank you so much for watching the video. Bye bye.